tazameni alivyofanya kijiti. Tazameni, tazameni alivyofanya kijiti. Kumjukuu wa mgeni, kumchezesha foliti. Kumjukuu wa mgeni, kumchezesha foliti. Kijanae maguguni, kamrejesha maiti. Kijanae maguguni, kamrejesha maiti.
हसोची सुरजोलुआ
Hello, everyone. Hi. If possible, please turn on your camera. Hello, hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Bruce.
Hello, Bruce.
Hi, Anna.
Hey, Pradeep, lovely to see you.
Good to see you. Ankur, Tracy.
Hello all.
Hello.
Good evening from here.
Should you give it a minute or two to see if more people are joining, and then probably would start. How is everyone doing?
Yeah, good. How's Canada? Is it as grey and gloomy as England is?
Snowy, yeah.
Oh, okay, far worse.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
First day of summer, yeah.
Oh, very jealous.
Tracy, we hope that you had a bit of rest after the Congress. Busy few days, eh?
Yeah, I tried. Hope you're all back safe, back in Canada. And Cecile, hi Cecile. Hope you're safe at home.
If the presenters are here, then we can start anytime. Seville, is it possible to make sure?
Sure.
I don't see some of our presenters, so.
Yeah. Let me look at them. Yeah, both groups are here. Yeah, most of the members are here. So, but still people are joining. I think we can start slowly.
Okay, so we give 30 seconds and then start.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, I'll let you start up to 30 seconds.
Hello everyone.
Hi, Mohit.
Hey, Mohit.
Sorry for delay because my audio is not working. Okay.
No problem.
No worries. Maybe we should start, Segal.
Yeah, Sarah, Cecilia, they are also here. Okay, great, wonderful. So hello, everyone. My name is Sevil Berenji, and I'm the project coordinator of the V2V Global Partnership. I would like to welcome you all for joining us today at the launch event of the Field School Working Papers, which are the output of the recent Chilika-V2V Field School. It is very valuable for us to have you all today with us. So thank you very much for joining from different parts of the world. Now I would like to invite Dr. Pratip Kumar Nayak and Dr. Derek Armitage, if he's here, from the University of Waterloo and V2V Global Partnership to host this program. Pratip, to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Segal, and thank you everyone for joining us, and welcome to this special event that we are holding. And this is really special because we have this opportunity to meet after a few months of doing the field school. And of course, we are coming together virtually, but it is no less joy because this is really an opportunity to say hello and see that how we were doing, but also celebrating some of the work that we did at the field school in August. And we'll hear more about that. So welcome to this special event where we are going to formally launch the reflection pieces that different groups have come up with. Just to start with a bit of background to where the reflection pieces are coming in. So this is related to a field school that Derek Armitage and myself have been doing in collaboration with Indian Institute of Technology, Priyadarshi Patnaik, Jania Mukherjee, and Nirman NGO in Orissa, especially under the leadership of Prashant Mahanti, over the last 6 to 7 years. So we returned to this field school in August last year, brought in about 45 students, graduate students, and early career researchers to use the field school as a platform to think and discuss and innovate various things with regards to vulnerability and viability issues within social ecological systems, especially focusing on Chilika Lagoon fisheries systems itself. So, in that particular field school, people came from about 12 to 13 countries, mostly from V2V Global Partnership, but also outside the V2V Global Partnership. And it is also a course in University of Waterloo. So several students from Waterloo also joined us there. And collaboratively, they created this platform to reflect on various aspects of vulnerability and viability. And that's what we're going to hear more today. So I will just give you a brief overview of the program today. So following my brief introduction, we will be hearing from the two working group co-authors briefly about the reflections that they have done. Once we have heard from them, then we will invite our guest today, who is Dr. Bruce Frayne, who is the Dean of the Faculty of Environment in the University of Waterloo, to formally launch the two working papers as part of the V2V Working Paper Series. Following which we will hear from the editors of the two working papers, Sarah Godpore and Sisikant Pradhan and myself. And then we will open it for any reflections from anyone that has joined us today. And that includes the rest of the co-authors and rest of the field school participants. So I welcome you all to this really wonderful opportunity to meet again and celebrate the work that we did. I'm not sure if Derek is here. I know Derek is traveling, so with limited internet capacity. So if Derek is here, Derek, are you here? Can you give us a shout? No, he's not here. I texted him.
I'm not seeing him. Yeah, I think.
Okay, so yeah, so Derek is one of the co-directors of the field school and V2V Global Partnership. If he joins, then we'll hear from him. But let's proceed to hearing the reflections from our two working groups, two working paper co-authors. And then we will inaugurate this and launch this formally. And Bruce, thank you for joining us. Welcome to this event and to V2V Global Partnership Working Paper Series. Please stay with us as we hear, and then we'll launch this formally. Thank you very much. So I think, first I'm going to invite the policy and governance group. I'm not sure who is presenting. A couple of people might be presenting. So what we did at the field school was we divided the participants into three groups, and as we kind of engaged with the local communities, learning about their lives and livelihoods and their engagements in the social ecological system of Chilika Lagoon, these three groups started to observe and experience the stories and the various narratives associated with the Chilika community. And they focused on three distinct topics. One group focused on the policy and governance aspect of vulnerability and viability. The second group focused on the ecotourism aspects of Chilika Lagoon and relating it to vulnerability to viability. And then the third group focused on gender and women enterprise in Chilika and how that relates to the vulnerability and viability issues in Chilika. So we will be hearing from two groups at least today, and then we'll proceed. So I invite the group or co-authors that wrote the reflection piece on policy and governance first, and then we'll go to the next one.
Thank you very much to V2V, Pradeep, and everyone here to be here for listening us. Yeah. So this is Ankur Shukla from Reiki Center, IIT Kharagpur. And the title of our study is, our working paper is Reflections from Chilika-V2V Field School, a glimpse into the policy and governance of the Chilika Lagoon social-ecological system. The co-authors include Anna Patel, Subhashini, Janmejay, Biswa, Fazili Asmat, Musarraf Hussain, Anjali, Moffat, Shreya, Indushmati, and Mohit as part of the policy and governance working group, as told by Prateek sir. Since our presentation is first one, I would like to give you a brief overview about Chilika Lagoon, and then Anna will take over for the rest of the presentation. Chilika Lagoon is the largest brackish water lagoon in Asia, spread over 1,000 square kilometer area across Puri, Khorda, Ganjam districts in Odisha along the Bay of Bengal, India. About 0.3 million fishers population in more than 120 villages directly depend on Chilika Lagoon for their small-scale fisheries-based livelihoods. The fishery consists of traditional fisher groups whose vocation is identified by their membership in certain Hindu castes. And these, relationships are based on customary rights formed through generations based on beti or salami system, where these fishers used to, provide allegiance to kings and jamidars. And later on, these customary rights have been acknowledged by both British government and then governments under post-independent India. 1980s marks a change in this approach through the arrival of prawn aquaculture, where state now had to accommodate non-fishers as well, and now starts a conflict between fishers, non-fishers over the natural resources of lagoon. Result is a more centralized decision-making where institutions like Fish-Fed or Chilika Development Authority replace the decision-making power of local Jati Panchayats or Fishers Federations. Thank you. Now over to Anna.
Many thanks, Ankur. Hi, everyone. So during the few days, the week that we had in August, we carried out field observations. And here we present to you our reflections and insights based on our time at Chilika Lagoon. So I want to add that what we heard were perceptions and that we are reflecting on those perceptions. Our objective was to reflect on the policy and governance of the lagoon and what we heard, the major drivers that have impacted the communities and the environment of Chilika. We visited and spoke with two specific villages, and our observations come primarily from those conversations, but also picking up knowledge from the locals in Satapata where we stayed. So we split our observations into 5 key areas, and we reflected on the policy and the government management systems within each of those. So I will now take you through our observations and reflections in each of these areas. So all community members reported the changes in ecology within the Chilika Lake. So many of these changes have been taking place for the last 50 years or so and have direct impacts on the economic development of the communities. So major impacts include pollution, habitat degradation, the opening of a new and artificial seamouth, and this caused a big change in the behavior of the tides and the sediment and drastically changed the salinity of the lagoon. In the 80s, aquaculture farms started to be built as an income generator, encouraged by the government. So all of these factors caused and contributed to changes in fish behavior, consumption, composition rather, and abundance, with obvious impacts on the lives of fishers and fisher communities. We noted a certain lack of local consultation and regulations on these new activities, resulting in environmental impacts of the aquaculture farms or the encroachment of gheries, which are the fishing areas split by caste. So some of the impacts we heard included lower income from reduced catch, high operational costs of fishing, and then a real lack of alternative livelihoods that are available to the fishing communities. We heard about the growth of aquaculture and the fact that it seemed to be providing opportunities to other communities. And in 1991, the government issued licenses to non-fishing families to benefit and to work in the aquaculture farms. So we heard about the lack of consultation by the state government, specifically around the major ecological shift from the opening of the artificial seamouth. Now, the Chilika Development Authority carried out studies on the lagoon and the siltation patterns and proposed a new seamouth. And it seems that although there was a lot of evidence for this new seamouth, there didn't seem to be a huge amount of consultation, and therefore a real large gap in understanding of the fish patterns that could have been provided from that traditional ecological knowledge from those who know and understand the area best. Now, there were two major societal themes that we identified that influenced Chilika Lagoon: gender and migration. Now, regarding gender, women are undervalued and underrepresented in the communities around Chilika. They're restricted to roles that could be seen as less skilled. They dominate the post-harvest activities. Now, we observe this gendered division of labor within the fishery value chain and regarding household and village activities and responsibilities. We observed that the governance systems were not catering or responding to women's needs, despite their positive contribution to household income. So the area has many self-governed groups or self-help groups, which are specifically for women, and they give the power to women to make those decisions on funds for their families of the village, so increasing their agency. Now, although we heard that many women are still heavily relying on Mahajans for local loans, and they do provide them some support, this is a debt trap, and it does keep women in the retainers. So throughout our interviews and our conversations, we heard repeated stories and issues about the impacts of the pandemic and the food support communities receive from the government. Now, regarding natural disasters as well, the communities face more cyclones than ever before, and the support from both the pandemic and the natural disaster seemed relatively inconsistent across different villages and different communities that we heard from. So this might suggest poor dissemination of information and access to resources for marginalized communities. Finally, we heard many accounts of family members from traditional fishing families migrating into cities, now due to the lack of income available around Chilika. Family members are undertaking different jobs in different sectors, supporting larger industries such as tea or clothing in cities. And this is really resulting in the loss of the traditional knowledge and the identity of these communities and villages. Now, there have been challenges with the interventions from central government, so less effective consultations, such as we saw with the seamouth. So we clearly see the need to preserve traditional knowledge. And the fishing communities, as stewards of the lagoon, who understand the lagoon, have demonstrated through their successful and long-lasting fishing tradition for many years that they can self-manage the ecosystem of the lagoon. Now, the Gary systems displayed this, so a relatively non-competitive quota system in a way. So split spatially by cast and also by gear type, so fishing with boats in the channel or on foot with nets in the shallower water. The communities and their knowledge, it's a really rich source of information, and the government and local authority bodies should be able to work with the communities to build their capacities and have policies that can be successfully implemented. To reach this point, we presented this diagram here in August, and also we present it here as a diagram of good management structure, perhaps. It's gender inclusive and it preserves ecological knowledge. Now, the self-help groups and the associations or co-ops allow participation and decision-making to reach government organizations. And that combined with traditional groups and the traditional methods of governance, such as the Gary system, with the traditional knowledge, should then create inclusive policies that are successfully implemented. So finally, to summarize, the communication channels are failing. And although they may exist, they don't seem to be providing the adequate support for the communities surrounding the Chilika Lagoon. Now, by improving these channels, the government could receive accurate information on really what is needed and how to manage the area, more knowledge and advice from the communities on what is working locally. By having more local authority officers on the ground, they could really be building their trust, and this could be maintained between local authorities and communities, which would have a greater sense of hope that their needs were being listened to, and they have more agency and more power. So as Chilika Lagoon undergoes these ongoing changes, there is a loss of culture and identity for many of these families. Communities are becoming more fragmented and even reducing in numbers. So we as a group hope that telling their stories will lead to positive change. Finally, I think from all of our group, thank you so much to the communities who shared their stories. So we're just incredibly grateful for the opportunity, for everyone who welcomed us, who fed us, let us observe their daily practices, take photos, ask questions. And we're so grateful for V2V for providing the capacity for this opportunity, but also allowing us to share their stories and the challenges here today, and through the publications of the working papers as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ankur and Anna. It's such a wonderful experience to hear the story again in a more streamlined way, and of course the working papers provide that platform to preserve it for future. At this point, if other co-authors have any quick points to add to what Anna and Ankur just talked about, we can take a minute or two to provide you that opportunity to make any additional reflections. Any co-authors of the policy and governance piece? Okay, we'll have time at the end for open reflections. So again, once again, thank you, Ankur and Anna and the whole group for putting together that interesting reflection piece. Now I will move on to our second working paper that is based on the reflections from another group of co-authors and participants in the Chilika Field School, who focused on ecotourism as a future prospect for viable small-scale fisheries in Chilika Lagoon. So I will invite the lead author and then the co-authors of that particular reflection piece to make their presentation briefly to us. Thank you.
So
who is presenting? Hey, Nick.
Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen. 1 second. Oh my God. Well, Zoom may not be okay. I'm so sorry. My Zoom requires me to just quit and reopen. I will join in probably 20 seconds. I'm so sorry.
You will wait.
Nice.
Thank you. Be back in a minute.
So at the end, we have several minutes for everyone to contribute to this, storytelling and reflections, so just be prepared for that.
Here. Wonderful. Okay, so you can all see my shared screen.
Yes, we can. Is it possible to make it like enlarge it, or if not, it's
full page or
like
something.
full page? I think we
Yes.
click on the middle, the top one. That is the one. The right, one of those.
View full screen mode.
Oh, yes.
There, apparently that's full screen.
Can you see full screen? Because we cannot, we just see like again the same thing. Because I think you shared the screen share just the PDF itself. That is why. Maybe you have to just screen share the whole. So unshare and share like the whole screen.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can. Yes, great.
Perfect. Wonderful.
Thank you.
It wouldn't be a Zoom without some kind of technical
No
trouble.
problems.
Yeah, so thank you, of course, to the whole V2V team for putting this event together, and also, of course, the field school, which was, I think, an incredible experience for everybody, and also to Anna and Ankur for such a wonderful, kind of an insightful overview of Chilika and the governance issues and the complexities facing the area. And I know that for myself and for the whole kind of larger group that worked on this working paper, the field school was an experience that we learned so much about research, about community engagement, and also about the Chilika socio-ecological system in general. And in our kind of discussions as we were writing this paper, we really kind of thought that this paper is a way for us to pull together our experiences with the field school kind of around the theme of ecotourism, and to reflect both on the conversations that we had and on our observations throughout the field school. And part of the process of writing this paper was, I think, kind of a development of an attitude of uncertainty about where we were and what we were doing. And in research, I think we're often a bit scared of uncertainty somehow. And many of us came into the working paper with an idea that we would find some kind of solution to the challenges that were facing Chilika. But by thinking of the paper as rather a tool to identify challenges and opportunities, as a way to organize what we're seeing around a coherent theme, we began to really see how uncertainty really is an attitude of openness through which I think that as researchers, we can come to really listen to the site that we're studying. And as this working paper was quite an exploratory piece of research that not only helped us to listen to Chilika, but also to make some kind of sense of what we heard. And as such, this reflection that I'll be sharing in the next few minutes, but it remains quite broad, and we were all trying to pull out just the most salient pieces of a much larger reflection. And we spoke primarily with the leaders of the Sarpadar Boating Association and with the villages of Burhanpur, focusing on the topic of ecotourism. And so the title of our working paper that came from these conversations and from other documents that we consulted is Reflections from Chilika, Prospects for a More Inclusive Ecotourism Sector. And to reflect on how tourism might be a driver for V2V transitions,
both transitions towards and away from vulnerability. We organized this paper into five themes. So these are the same themes that the governance group dealt with. So ecological and environmental attributes, economic and developmental attributes, governance and management, sociocultural and gender aspects, and this last kind of emerging issues theme, which really ties together themes coming from all these other themes. And throughout each of these portions of our paper, we reflected on the picture of ecotourism that was emerging. And at the center of this picture is the tension between fishing life and tourism life.
these two forms of work that are both tied into cultural identity, social dynamics, and economic viability. So for the communities in Chilika, fishing is really more than just a source of income. It's an identity, it's a kind of a political, economic force. It's a practice of kind of environmental stewardship, and it is today a real challenge in the face of significant ecological change in the area. So as fisherfolk in Chilika shift from fishing to tourism, or rather supplement fishing with tourism, this new touristic practice, it impacts upon traditional ways of life. And if we think of culture as a practice that unfolds over time, then this really makes perfect sense. You know, new practices cause cultural changes, and as the premise of socio-ecological systems suggests, you cannot isolate these cultural changes from ecology, economy, society, and politics. So a shift to tourism ripples outwards and affects the broader patterns of change that are unfolding in Chilika. And from our conversations that we had during the field school, we found that tourism is both an alternative source of income for fishers who are struggling to make ends meet, and it is also a speculative project largely by non-locals who are looking to exploit the ecosystem for profit. And while the precise mechanisms by which tourism is both exploiting and contributing positively to the lives of vulnerable communities at Chilika, this really warrants further research, we have begun to, through this process of writing the working paper in the field school, we've begun to unravel some points that suggest avenues or directions. So the first point that we addressed is that the multiple actors involved in the ecotourism industry should consider the mutually sustaining relationships between human and non-human elements of Chilika if it is to become more environmentally sustainable. The second point, which is really focused on economy, is that ecotourism needs to move beyond the dwindling dolphin population, which is today the primary focus of tourism is these Irrawaddy dolphins in the lagoon. But ecotourism needs to move beyond the dolphin population to include the cultural value of Chilika if it is to be an economically viable source of income for the area. And the third point, we were exploring the criminal and fraudulent dimensions of tourism in the region, which likely stem from structural problems, and to combat those structural problems or challenges requires deeper support for participatory bottom-up governance that might be able to address poverty, inequalities, and marginalization, which all impact upon the criminal and fraudulent elements of tourism. And the fourth point was that the images of tourism, the images of Chilika that are circulated to promote tourism may be contributing factors in shaping both local and non-local valuations of Chilika's inhabitants and their entangled socio-cultural environments. And these 4 points correspond to 4 of our themes. You remember there was 5. So they respond to the first is ecological and environmental attributes. The second is economy and development. The third is governance and management. And the fourth is the socio-cultural and gender issues. And taking these lessons together, a fifth thread emerges that suggests the future of Chilika's tourism must be driven by the inhabitants of Chilika if tourism is to begin positively contributing to the viability of the whole socio-ecological system. And this is really because the inhabitants of Chilika largely understand the whole picture in a way that non-locals just simply do not. But to do this, to address this fifth point, which corresponds to this emerging issues theme, really requires a holistic approach to the entire socio-ecological system, in which a broad spectrum of agents are considered as drivers and potential allies in producing some semblance of meaningful change. And such an approach, a holistic approach, requires both human and non-human agents to be considered as active players in making and influencing change. So this photo here, which our group quite like, you know, it's showing the natural environment. You see built structures, which is a human environment, and of course the dog. And so it's kind of it's showing these different agents and parts of this holistic system, which really illustrates the complexity of what we're trying to understand and what is undergoing changes either towards or away from viability, or both together rather. And looking at ecotourism, really it is just one driver of change, and it has a potential to become a positive driver for change if the most vulnerable are able to play a more direct role in the future of Chilika. And to do this really require strengthened networks of solidarity between fishing groups that are negatively affected by tourism, and governmental support for their voice in resisting exploitative touristic practices. So coupling support for these networks with a more expansive approach to touristic value creation. I spoke very briefly about the image of Chilika that's produced, may reposition fishing life as key to tourism rather than in opposition to it. And the support for fishing life in its many kind of forms and extensions may in this way help to actually grow the tourism industry as an ally in sustainable socio-ecological development. So as I kind of wrap up, I want to mention just one last particularly salient point that emerged repeatedly in our conversations. So there were repeated calls for tourism to become focused in the cultural sector in Chilika, aiming to create tourist cultures that value the artistic practices, the histories, and the lifestyles of fishing communities in Chilika. And since fishing cannot be and should not be replaced by tourism, perhaps tourism can in this way become an avenue for supporting fishing life and a more viable social, economic, political, and environmental process that are entangled with it. And these reflections that I've shared for you, in which we develop in more detail through the working paper, they do come, of course, from just over a week of engagement with Chilika, and as such, they're really these broad stroke avenues for further reflection and for the development of more comprehensive research programs and directions in the region. And to conclude, I just want to say again, thank you to the whole V2V team and to all the people that shared their time with us and helped us to kind of develop these reflections. And of course, to all the other authors on this paper on whose behalf I'm speaking today. And so thank you.
Thank you very much, Nick, and all the co-authors, again, for a set of really, high-level reflections. Are there co-authors that would like to add anything to what Nick just spoke on behalf of you all? So we have a few minutes that we can dedicate. Any co-authors of the ecotourism group? Okay, maybe in the open 15 minutes that we have at the end. Thank you once again, Nick, and the entire group there. So you just heard about the reflections and the insights and learnings that these two groups had during their week-long experience in Chilika. These are not particularly something that are coming out of research, because we are not there to do research, but this is a way of telling stories, because we were in the community and we were not doing research. We were basically living and, spending time in learning about Chilika Lagoon, ecological and social systems there. So we call these our reflections, and all these reflections that you just heard from the two groups, wonderfully put, and really high level analysis, and deeply rooted in the history of Chilika and the current situations in Chilika, also looking into the future through those reflections, have been captured in two working papers. And these two working papers are part of the V2V Working Paper Series that we have been running over the last 2 years. And this is a new addition to our existing V2V Working Paper Series, because we were publishing on student thesis, we were publishing on the research of the V2V community, we published some of our, situational analysis, which is broad, analysis of, the status of small-scale fisheries in various countries in the past years. But then when we're just going to the Chilika Field School, we thought maybe, this is a good way to continue those stories. If one generation of participants in Chilika Field School could capture their reflections, could capture their learnings in ways that is available in perpetuity for the future generations and the future participants of the field school, there is nothing wonderful than that. So this is our first ever initiative effort to capture those reflections within our V2V Working Paper Series. So I'm really feeling very proud and excited for being part of the last field school with all of these wonderful people that came there and spent time together, and today contributing their reflections in the form of those two working papers. One is titled as the Reflections from Chilika V2V Field School, a glimpse into the policy and governance of the Chilika Lagoon social-ecological system. And there are 12 co-authors on that particular piece. And then the second piece is Reflections on Chilika V2V Field School, prospects for a more inclusive ecotourism sector in Chilika. So those are the two. At this point, since we know the story, we know the reflections, we know where are they coming from, who are the people who are reflecting. I invite Dr. Bruce Prane, who is the Dean of Faculty of Environment at the University of Waterloo, to say a few words and formally launch and inaugurate and help us celebrate these two reflection pieces by our participants of Chilika Lagoon. Bruce, over to you.
Right, thank you very much, Prateep, and of course to Seville also for organizing and for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. And Prateep sent me an text message when I was in the middle of a lunchtime meeting saying, do I want to join this this presentation this morning? And I thought it was happening at that lunchtime. And I thought, sure, I've got out of that. At least I don't have to be there. And then he said, no, it's on Friday morning. So of course, then I couldn't say no. But the reason he invited me was because I think, I work in international development, but he also understands that Chilika has a special place in my own mind and in my own experience, actually, of India and of development. And so it's been an absolute pleasure to listen to these presentations. And I have to say that they have exceeded my expectations in all ways. So while they are reflections, when you see them in their final form, and you see what has really come out of the experience that you had. I mean, I think Nick mentioned it was only a week long, but the point is that it seems much bigger than that when you look at the content of what has come out of this. And I'm sure that for many of you, it was not an easy process to come away and spend several months trying to work together from different parts of the world. You've all got your own lives, and yet somehow you've managed to pull this together and have this launch today of the field school working papers. So first thing I want to say is congratulations. I think it's a tremendous effort. The second thing I want to say, though, is that I think Chilika really exemplifies this university's commitment to experiential learning and to work integrated learning, as we call it. So one of the big differentiators of Waterloo as a university is that it is a global leader in work integrated learning. And so we are looking for ways under our new strategic direction, which is something called Waterloo at 100, where will we be when we are 100 years old. So it's a far-reaching document, but one of the major differentiators we have identified, and that we will be strengthening over the next 35 years until we reach our 100th birthday, is going to be work integrated learning and experiential learning. And so I think Chilika Field School is really a leader, and it's an exemplary example of how spending time with a group of people who don't know each other in a part of the world that many people maybe haven't been to can result in tremendous learning. So it doesn't all have to be books and classes in a university setting. So I think I'm going to end just with my own reflection, really, which is that I too am a student of Chilika. I didn't write a reflection paper, but I was there, I suppose, 2019. Yeah, and it was an incredible experience. And of course, Siso was there, and I see him, who, by the way, is one of our top PhD students here at Waterloo. But we had an incredible experience, and one of the things that kind of came to me yesterday was we were having a little Christmas, we're thinking of you event in our faculty here for our students, because it's exam time, it's cold and gray and snowy outside. And so we were having this event, and at this event was Navya, who is a student here in our PhD program, but who I first met in Chilika. And that was at a cultural event where we had traditional Orissa music and dancing that had been organized by Sisser. And at the end of that, she and her friends, students, got together and did Bollywood style dancing on this kind of, in this amphitheater, which some of you will remember from Chilika. Anyhow, so we were just discussing that and reminiscing about it. And so when I was asked to say a few words this morning, it kind of got me thinking about that experience and what it really felt like to be there. And it's an amazing place. It's very challenging, but it's also very rewarding. And I think we see that in the quality of these reflections. And so other than congratulating everybody on this, I have a challenge that I would like to put out there to, I suppose, the V2V team. What do we do with these reflections? How do we capture these, other than an online publication? How do we capture them in a way that helps to demonstrate what it is that projects like V2V do and the value of that experience? Because I think we need to think through how we do that as a faculty of environment, and how we really are able to capture this and show it to the world in a way that perhaps doesn't happen when it remains as a project document. So that's the challenge, and I'm very supportive of finding ways to do that. So I think once this event's over and we have some time between the launch and the next field school, the team can get together and we can think about that, because I think this is a tremendous opportunity to showcase the amazing work, not just that V2V does, but under the leadership of Prateep, and the whole idea of experiential learning and how rich and meaningful that can be. So again, congratulations. And I suppose I could say, if I had a bottle of champagne, I could open it and say officially launched. So I think the field school working papers are now officially launched. So congratulations, everybody. And thank you for the opportunity to share this hour with you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Bruce. I remember, towards the last 2 days of discussion with the communities, some of the field school participants asked, how can we, help, what can we do with relation to Chilika and your ongoing efforts to preserve, conserve, and, sustain Chilika social-ecological system. One of the dominant voices from most of the fishers present there, both men and women, was that if you can keep telling our story wherever you go, and don't let it die, the story of Chilika, don't let it die, that's going to be a big help in how we are going to venture into the future. So that was the dominant voice, and that was the dominant ask from each of the fisher groups and people there. I think to your challenge, I would put that on the table to say, how can each of these people, 50 people every year, sums up to a lot in 10 years. So if they can continue this storytelling, continue making even 1% of Chilika into their whole work that they are doing, Chilika is going to move in a new direction rather than getting stuck where it is now. So that's just one response to that. But at this point, thank you once again, Bruce. That was very motivating, and that's where the working papers are officially launched now, and we have every reason to celebrate. Okay, and we don't know. How to do real celebrations virtually, so in person is different. We'll wait for an occasion. So now I would invite, so this entire working paper that we published, but the reflection, putting together reflections was supported by 3 individuals, starting from day 1 in the field school. So Sara Godpade, Sisir Kanta Pradhan, and myself, we acted as friends and and supporters of this process, guiding this process and providing feedback. So in the formal world, we call ourselves editors of the working papers, but the work was really done by the people that that are the co-authors. So I now invite first Sara Godpade, following by Sisir Pradhan, as the editors of the reflection working papers, along with me, to just briefly make some reflections on their experience of working on these reflection pieces with these wonderful groups of people. Sarah, over to you.
Thanks, Prateep, and hi, everyone. Just before I start, I'm in a rural area of India right now, so my connection is pretty poor. So apologies in advance if you lose me, and I'm going to keep my video off just to reduce any risk of that. As well, it's a bit noisy possibly. So having said that, it's great to see everyone again. I'd echo, comments that others have made already. It's great to see everyone again and remember what a great experience it was to be at the field school, to be really part of the community there. And as well, part of the kind of community that we sort of built ourselves over, what was actually a pretty short period of time, but we managed to do a lot and have a lot of different experiences. So that's something that's special to remember as well. I really want to thank everyone for all their hard work. The field school itself had a fairly demanding schedule, and in between all the scheduled activities, the authors really put in a lot of work, spent most of their free time starting to put together the material for these papers, and then as others have alluded to, managed to put in the hours in the weeks after the field school, despite everyone's other commitments and so on. So I really want to commend everyone for that, and thank everyone who contributed in that way. Because it was challenging. We had, people from all over the world. We had people from different backgrounds. Sorry about that. People from different, academic backgrounds, from backgrounds in every sense of the word, and coming at these topics and reflections from those different perspectives. And we managed to, put something, I think, really cohesive and a really important contribution together. And that took a lot of time, and it was really neat to see over the weeks following the field school how it did come together. And I think we saw threads that weren't always obvious in the beginning, and especially looking back from the initial days at the field school, just different people jotting down notes, and how it transformed from that into these papers. So really thanks everyone for all your hard work on that. And I think it was just a great idea. It was an ambitious idea, and now that it's out there, yes, we have this really important contribution and more attention on Chilika and the issues, and that's really important. I'm really glad to hear there'll be continuing attention on that. And now also a model for future field schools as well. So, as others have mentioned as well, this idea of a reflection paper, and it's a fine line. It's not exactly research, but it is based on our observations in the community, and that was a fine line to walk, and not always easy for sure. And I think having these, as what was initially an experiment this year, having these out there now opens the door for future such papers at Chilika or elsewhere, what you can really, the kind of interesting insights and reflections you can get out of a relatively short period with some hard work. So I think that's it from my side. Hope that all went through. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you also for all the support that you have provided as one of the leader editors of the 2 working papers. I will now invite Sisir Pradhan to make a very brief comment as the second editor of the series.
Yeah, thank you, Prateep. I would just like to thank everyone. It's great to see everyone once again. So it's really an humbling experience, really going through these papers. I have been actually, when we are thinking about this field school, a random idea just struck that what about looking at Chilika from these lenses? When in the hindsight, when you think, when we thought about that, and now we see what an amazing, amazing thought that was. Like it was such a, and the other part of struggle, always Pradeep used to post and say, is that how to create science that matters to people. So I think, yes, research has a place, and the implementation science is making implementation science is very, very important, where people story is being told, as Bruce said, how we can really create integrating knowledge. And probably these are the spaces I see has tremendous potentials to really bring in people from various disciplines. Some are practitioners, some are students, some are academic, and coming to a very transdisciplinary kind of a perspective and telling their stories. What a powerful instrument it is to really go about. So generally there is a divide in the society, like academics' rights, they don't connect to communities. And then communities think academic rights the way we do not understand. And the policymakers think that these writings are for books. So I think these are pieces when you go through, it was such a wonderful piece of people have written about the mind, and they're reflecting about their experience in such a that it is actually told the way it is existing. It is unfiltered in that sense. And that has its own space in actually creating new history, in fact, and really proud of being part of this field school and the kind of going through these papers and seeing through these lenses. I commit Bruce once, I will definitely drive down to Chilika and show these papers to communities. We are telling the story to the world. So I think that makes a space where communities see how academics and community can together to create a common voice. That's my commitment, Pradeep and Bruce, that once this is done, I'll definitely drive down. Natasha is there, so we can definitely go to community and say, yes, we are trying our best. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we will translate it into Oriya before you take the drive, so that's wonderful. I have spoken enough, so I had this opportunity to not only work with both Cecil and Sarah as editors, but this, all the people that, wrote these reflection pieces. It's a nice way to kind of, reflect back to see, how enriching it becomes when you as a group spend time together and bring a new perspective on how we do research. And this is what I say based on our own struggle in terms of the format and the language. So the moment we say research, some people take it seriously, of course, within the academia, but many people don't take it seriously because the policymakers, the community people would say, okay, this is for research. But the moment you change the language to say this is not research, this is our reflection, this is how we would like to tell the stories that you told us, it becomes rather more powerful. This becomes rather more, equal, and it goes far than doing simple research and coming back and then writing it in a format and language that is understood by less and less number of people. So this was our struggle with the format and the language, and there is a lot of scope to improve, I understand, but we are open to do that next year and next year and next year. I'm really, again, as proud as everybody else here to be part of this particular group. And my commitment is to go back again in August, with another 50 wonderful people from different parts of the world and do the same thing again, with Chilika community. So thank you very much. So we have a few minutes left here. Anyone who wants to jump in and share their experience, and say anything about your experience, either as a co-author or a participant or both. So really, there is not a lot of time. I know people have other commitments, but please jump in and say a few things before we bring it to a close. Anyone? yeah, I may have told you at the field school that silence is sometimes good, but not always. So who wants to go?
Anyone?
Anyone wants to say anything?
I think they said what they have to say through working paper. Anyone?
No, you're not tired yet, this is just the beginning. Okay, so they're all writing actually, so now they've published a working paper, so they're all authors and writers, so they like to write, that's great. Okay, yeah.
So no one.
Okay, there's no one. Okay, that's fine. Do we have anything else here on the agenda, Sybil? No, I don't think so.
No, just
Okay.
because people are asking, just we are going to publish it officially on the website, V2V website, and we are going to send it also through an email, and it is citable. And yeah, you are going to hear from us about the final probably by the end of today. So thank you very much, everyone. Is it possible to turn like your camera,
everybody, and then we take a group
let's take a group photo
picture, and then yeah, so
good.
everybody come.
Nice.
If
Okay,
you can.
nice, great. Smile, do whatever you want. Great. Okay, yeah, smile. Okay, I took the photo. Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. I bring this to a close, but this is not the close. This is just a new beginning. Okay, and hopefully we'll see you. Some of you, come visit again. You saw people that have done 5 times the field school, so come again. It's always open. It's a platform for you to use. Stay connected and do well in whatever you are doing in your pursuits of life. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, so nice to see you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And congratulations to all.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you. Congratulations to you.
Yeah, thanks, Mohammed.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.